Hey, it's Chris. Apple just wrapped up the iPhone 11 announcement event, and in this video, I'm gonna run through the different announcements for the iPhones, for the iPad, and for the new Apple Watch, and I'm gonna link all that timestamps for those up down in the description, so if you wanna skip around to the part that interests you the most, please be my guest. Let's start things off by talking about the two new flagship top-of-the-line iPhones, which Apple said in the presentation consisted of a brand new stunning design, which if we're being honest, it's not really a super new design. It's really an iterative tweak, but you know what? I like the design. I like it. I think we're getting the big redesign next year, so just be patient. So this is the first Pro phone from Apple. We've had the iPad Pro, we've had the MacBook Pro, and the Mac Pro, and so there've been Pro devices, but this is the first Pro iPhone to have that moniker. So my first question is kind of like, what is a Pro? Who are the pros that Apple's targeting? It kind of seems like they're kind of targeting mostly photo and video pros, which for me is great. I don't know if that's 100% true, but being in the video industry, I'm really excited about these phones. So these two new Pro models feature the new Super Retina HDR displays. And these are brighter, they have wider color, they're 15% more energy efficient, and they have Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. That's a lot of exciting stuff. Now, I haven't been super excited about the screen upgrades for the last couple years. It's been like, okay, yeah, that could be cool. But this sounds really exciting to me. We may not have gotten a brand new overall design for these Pro phones, but wow, this is a brand new awesome display. I seriously can't wait to see what photos and videos look like on this display in person. There's also a brand new A13 Bionic chip. We expected an internal upgrade and we got it. This thing is capable of doing more than 1 trillion operations per second. This device that fits in your pocket. Think about that. So whether you're like video editing or photo processing or playing a really graphics intensive game, it's great to have this extra overhead space so that you can really do everything that you could ever imagine and that probably any app developers can kind of imagine at this stage. Now here's some big news, some really big news. Some people are gonna think this is the biggest news about the iPhones from today, but these new Pro iPhone 11 Max models can get 5 extra hours of battery life over the previous Max models. Now that's not nothing. In the past, it's been like, hey, we've managed to keep the battery life about the same, even though we have upgraded all the performance. This year, they finally moved past that and they were like, no, we're gonna give you a lot of extra battery life. Also this year, these phones are coming with 18-watt fast chargers in the box. This is something that everybody's been complaining about. They want the fast charging right in the box. Why would you have to buy that separately? Well, you don't anymore. So, some pretty cool stuff that we've covered so far. I'm obviously very excited about it, but the real big features, for me, the biggest stuff, the stuff I'm most excited about, has to do with the camera. And I know some people are disappointed. It's like, oh, camera upgrade. They wanted a redesign, just to have a redesign, I think. But no, these are big camera updates. So this year, the new iPhones all get new wide-angle lenses, 120 degrees field of view. This is a big deal. You are going to use this lens more than you think. And what's really cool here is that you get 4 times optical zoom. So you can zoom 2 times in and 2 times out now, which is awesome. So you end up getting 3 different viewpoints from the same vantage point. Does that make sense? I think so. We're also getting a brand new feature or function called Deep Fusion, which sounds so awesome, sounds like sci-fi, sounds like something you wanna use, and I do wanna use this. What it does is it takes 9 different photos and computationally arranges them and picks through all the different pixels to sort out the noise issues that might be there and to give you higher levels of detail. I'm guessing that this is going to be amazing. Now this is an example of something that I wasn't expecting. I heard no rumors about this. Apple kept the lid shut on this one, and it was a nice surprise to see thrown in there. So the camera is gonna be amazing, have some really cool Pro stuff, but what I'm really excited about is the new Pro video features. So all 3 cameras can now shoot 4K 60. Are you kidding me? This is awesome. And not only that, but you can switch between the 3 different cameras, those angles, seamlessly. So if you wanna zoom like really smooth between ultra wide and like telephoto, you can now do that. I'm also really liking the announcement that let us know you can edit the video clips that you take in the camera app itself. They've added some new tools there so you can really tweak it and get it looking just right. There's also a new font in the camera app, and it's called SF Camera because San Francisco is Apple's font. They've made one just for the camera app. Now, this is a great example of Apple geeking out about a small detail. Like, this is not a big thing. Who else would be announcing that they have a new font for the camera app? Only Apple. And so you have all these other competitors copying Apple in different ways with like looks and stuff, but they don't sweat the small details like Apple. And this is a great example of that. Whether you would notice this or not is not the point. The point is Apple is sweating these small details. And that's part of what makes Apple so great, honestly. Now here's something that got me just super excited. This might be the thing I'm most excited about from this whole announcement day. And that is the new Filmic Pro app, which is a pro video app, can now shoot from multiple cameras at the same time. So you can shoot in front and behind, like capture what you're saying and what you're looking at the same time in amazing quality. There are cameras that cost how many thousands of more dollars than these iPhones that can't do something like this. This is a camera tool that you can't get anywhere else. So Apple showed off several videos showing off the new products today, and the iPhone 11 Pro video was not narrated by Johnny Ive for the first time, I think, today. And in a way, that's kind of sad, because like, oh yeah, end of an era. But you know what? What I really took away from that is Apple's doing fine without Johnny Ive and those iconic voiceovers. In fact, I think they did an amazing job with all the videos showing everything off and the event in general. So I'm excited right now about Apple in the future. So these new Pro models start at $999 for the smaller size. And you know, people made like a huge deal about the pricing over the last couple years. Like phones are getting so expensive, and it didn't necessarily feel justified. But this year, I really feel, thanks to the camera functions, that this pricing is justified for these Pro users. I think they've perfectly positioned the marketing for this. I mean, Pro, it's Pro pricing, and there's Pro features that you can't get in other Pro photo gear. I mean, think about like semi-pro cameras that shoot video that can't do the multi-angle thing like with Filmic Pro. This is actually a really great deal in some ways. Now, for everybody that's not into Pro photo and video stuff, then maybe you're gonna wanna check out the iPhone 11, which before we even got to this announcement, the iPhone 11 Pro, already blew me away. So the new iPhone 11, just regular 11, no Pro, is kind of like the new iPhone XR, which was the most popular iPhone last round, and I definitely expect this to be the most popular this round. So this round we have a 6.1 Retina display, and I remember everyone complaining last year with the XR that, oh, this isn't an OLED screen, and talking so bad about it. And then they got the phone and they ended up loving it. So trust me, please, when I say you are going to like the display on this phone for the price. It is going to look great. So just because this isn't the Pro iPhone this year doesn't mean that there aren't several great camera upgrades to talk about, starting with the fact that we now have dual lenses and an ultra-wide lens comes to all the new iPhones this year, including this cheaper model, which is great. I'm so glad they didn't leave it out. This lens is gonna come in so handy whether you're doing landscape stuff, or you got a big group of friends and you wanna fit everybody into the frame, or you're in a really tight enclosed area and you don't have a lot of space to work with. Trust me, this is gonna feel like a huge upgrade. Along with that new wide-angle lens, we also have a more immersive camera app that shows you what's kind of outside of the frame of a regular photo, letting you know you can zoom out and go wider. And I think it's a really, really clever implementation. We're also getting next-gen Smart HDR. Now, HDR is a huge improvement for your photos, and I really like the way Apple has handled this in the past, so any improvement here in this generation of HDR is gonna be a big deal. I think you're really going to like your photos better with this processing. One thing that Apple mentioned is a new high-key lighting portrait mode effect, and to be honest, I really don't end up using the portrait mode effects all that much. So it's gonna be in the marketing, you're gonna see it, you're gonna hear that name, if you go to the website and see the videos, but I'm just telling you, that's probably more hype than something that's actually useful, at least to me. Something else I'm so glad is now here on the iPhones is a night mode, which they desperately needed in order to compete with things like the Pixel. Now, I don't think that not having a night mode was gonna be something that would have caused iPhone users to really switch ecosystems, but it's one of those things you're glad that it's now here, because it really was a place that Apple was lagging behind, to be honest. The main thing I'm curious about with this night mode is how long it takes to process, because Apple might be playing catch up putting it on this phone, but they could really leap ahead if they could do the processing faster. Because on the Pixel, you have to really hold the phone there for a while. And even apps that let you do some kind of night mode before this feature on the iPhone, you have to hold the phone there and keep it steady, and it takes a while. It's not instant by any means. And so it'd be interesting for me to test that and see how fast they can do it. Now, they played a demo of this iPhone's video capabilities too, the iPhone 11, and wow, I was blown away. Seriously, I actually liked some of the footage that they showed here better than the footage that they showed for the iPhone 11 Pros. It really popped, and it was like, wow, that looks like a Hollywood experience. Like, over the years, Apple has garnered a real reputation for being a leader in the video space when it comes to camera stuff. And it looks like they really want to maintain that lead, because this looks incredible. Something else related that Apple announced was new cinematic video stabilization. It was a quick mention, but I'm really interested in this, because if you're hand holding photos, any stabilization that works well could be a low-key game changer. So that's something that I really want to test, and that has me very excited. In that camera app, we now have a quick take feature, so you can tap and hold on the shutter button instead of having to switch over to video, and it will start taking a video right there. And it's these kinds of intuitive little changes that aren't always obvious, but if you know about them, can really add up to a really great user experience in this ecosystem. Now, one thing that made me do a double take, I had to make sure that I had my information right, was that all of the cameras here on this phone, front and back, shoot 4K 60. Now, this is a huge deal for people who do video creation, because now you can see the screen looking at you with a good camera. It's no longer the worst camera that's facing you, so you can see yourself while you're recording the best quality video. And this is awesome. Apple tried to do some phrase coining here with the term slow fees, which is like slow front selfies. And you know what? Names aside, which everyone's gonna make fun of for a little bit and then they're gonna forget because it's gonna be an awesome feature, I think this is kind of cool. Like, I don't know how much I'll personally use this, but I can see a lot of people having a lot of fun with this. So the processor here is the A13, and Apple mentioned up on stage that it's the fastest CPU and GPU in a phone. And my first thought immediately was, rest in peace, gaming phones. Now, it's true, some phones have like 120 hertz refresh rate or whatever, but seriously, when it comes to power, that's insane. So they showed a demo called Pascal's War, and for a phone, it looked really great, really immersive. The battery life on this device, on the 11, does see some improvement compared to the 10R. It gets 1 hour longer in its rating. And you know, it's not the same 5-hour jump that we're seeing on the Pro model, but still, it's not nothing. Like, an hour is an hour, and sometimes that makes all the difference. So I'll take it. Now, to be very honest, I sort of hinted at this before. Apple announced the iPhone 11 before the Pros, and as that announcement was happening, I was like, wow, this is great, this is cool. Yes, it's iterative, but these are upgrades that I actually do care about in day-to-day life. And so I was like, they better have some really great stuff to differentiate and distinguish between this model and the Pro. Because honestly, I think most people are gonna love this phone, buy it, and be happy with it. And honestly, if I wasn't a tech reviewer, this would be my daily go-to phone. This would be it. So when you take everything that I just mentioned into consideration, and then you realize that the price starts at $699, this is great. There's really not a lot to complain about here. We're gonna get a new design probably next year, and then you can go crazy about how you either love or hate that, and maybe you'll miss this design, but for the price, for the features, I'm excited here. And you know what? You can still get an iPhone 8 and an iPhone XR if this price doesn't excite you in feature set. So that's pretty cool too. Apple's really hanging in there and saying, here's a bunch of different price points for everybody. All right, so let's talk about the Apple Watch Series 5. You guys know I'm a huge Apple Watch fan. I'm excited for the Series 5. I got one ordered already. It's coming, got a review on the way, so make sure you're subscribed. But Apple started out this portion of the event showing off a video that was showing these people who are like losing all this weight and dropping a ton of pounds. And I have to say, those have to be outlier experiences, because for me, the Apple Watch is really more of a micro motivator. It motivates me for sure, but in kind of a micro or moderate way, rather than this crazy way that's making me drop like 50 pounds. You know what I mean? So right away, you can notice that the Series 5 basically looks the same as the Series 4, and for all I know, it maybe is the exact same external dimensions. But that's not a bad thing. We like how it looks right now, and so no complaints. So the big feature here for the new Apple Watch Series 5 really seems to be the always-on display, which a lot of people have been clamoring for years now. And I'll be honest, my first reaction when I heard it was like, whoa, that's amazing. And then my filter kind of kicked in and I was like, well, wait, why is that amazing? Because like when my arm's over here, I'm not gonna be seeing the display when I'm just like walking or something. But you know, there may be some times once I've actually started using it where just you can glance and see it, and maybe it's gonna be useful. I'm expecting it to be more useful than I think. Now there's a new Retina display on the Series 5, which I think is great, especially when I'm thinking back to using apps like J for Twitter or Lens for Instagram, not to mention just the Photos app, being able to see photos. And anything that has a picture and a photo is going to look a lot better now with this display. And that's not to be underestimated. The display itself sounds pretty smart, so it's not gonna be at full brightness all the time. Like if you're not directly looking at it, if you haven't raised your wrist, it has all these sensors to help it know, and you can like tap it too to brighten it up, but it knows when it shouldn't be wasting power in your battery life, which is good. Something else that Apple announced was there's a new built-in compass for the Series 5, and you know what? I don't think a lot of people are gonna be like excited over this compass. I could be wrong, but I've never found myself being like, you know what? Right now, I really need a compass, and I wish it was here on my Apple Watch. I've never been like that, but maybe some developers will do some cool stuff with it. I don't know. There's also a new emergency feature, which will let you send an emergency SOS wherever you are, as long as you have the LTE model. So you could be traveling internationally, overseas, and this will still work on a bunch of networks, which is awesome. And Apple kind of described this as giving you some peace of mind, and that is a perfect description for this, honestly. That's what it is. It is peace of mind. And honestly, that is very cool. Now we also get some new casing options here, which is great because personalization is key for something like this, especially as the Apple Watch continues to get more and more popular and more people are out there wearing it. I'm seeing them all over the place. You wanna be able to say, mine's a little bit different, right? And this year, you're gonna be able to do that now more than ever because you have some new case options. Two of those new case options include the titanium and ceramic models. They're bringing back ceramic. Titanium, I think, is new. But here's the thing. My past experience tells me that Apple won't take back a ceramic model, at least. And so they're expensive. They're more expensive. And you're like, oh, well, I'll just turn that into another Apple Watch. Well, they wouldn't take mine. It was in perfect shape and they didn't want it back as a trade-in. So that's something to keep in mind. But I will say, I've been missing the old ceramic from the Series 3. I miss that. Not that this one's bad, this aluminum at all. But wow, that white ceramic just looks so good. So the new Apple Watch starts at $399 and $499 depending on the size, and that's great. I'm glad to see that the prices aren't inflating every year. In fact, I think this might be a little bit cheaper even than last year. And something that's really cool is that an older version of the Apple Watch is now available for $199. And yeah, it's older, but it's still gonna be great. And so if you want to do a little bit of testing, you want to test out the Apple Watch right now, you're not sure if you want to dive in, then you can do it for a pretty reasonable price. So don't sleep on that older model. The last thing that I want to mention today is the new 7th generation 10.2-inch iPad, which is a new base entry-level iPad. Now, I can tell you right now, I'm amazed at everything that this iPad can do for the price. I'm actually pretty blown away. So you've got this new 10.2-inch display, which is up from 9.7, and I really think this is gonna make a big difference for people, especially when it comes to multitasking in the new iPad OS. You want that extra screen real estate, and you get it on the base model now. Something else that's very cool is that you can now connect a full-size smart keyboard to this base model. Now look, to be able to use Apple's official keyboard case on this base model is gonna be a huge convenience in terms of just time and portability. So people that buy this new 10.2-inch model are gonna be stuck with an A10 processor, which is like 3 generations out of date. But here's what I have to say about that. yeah, you're gonna be able to do what you need to, and that's the good news. The bad news is it's just maybe gonna be slower than you would like. But the thing is, you don't really notice it unless you've got a faster iPad sitting right next to it. So I guess that's a little bit more good news. So as I'm listening to the announcement of this new iPad, I'm thinking to myself, already at this point, with just the features I've mentioned, the new iPad Pro, which maybe might get announced in October, had better be pretty amazing to differentiate itself from this, just this, the base model. The Air is pretty good too, but now the base model has all these accessories, and it's got iPadOS coming, and so I really am expecting a pretty cool bump to the new iPad Pro. So iPadOS is coming. It's gonna be a huge shift for all iPads, Pro or base model, but especially on the base model, I think it's really going to open up a whole new world for people at this entry-level price point. For instance, now you can do things like use a thumb drive. Although it isn't USB-C, it's a lightning port, but still, you have that ability. Like, this is a big deal. One thing I'm really liking is that a bunch of Apple's products this year, including this one, now have cases made from 100% recycled aluminum, which is something I can really respect because a bunch of other companies can say, hey, look, we came out with these new products, but what other companies are out there saying, look, we're being environmentally friendly as well? So this new iPad is only $329 to start with, which is pretty amazing. And with all these accessories, I think a lot of people are gonna be doing some really cool stuff at this entry level. And so I've got one of these coming too. We're gonna do a review, so stay tuned for that. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Later.